If you guessed it, today we are working on airbags. I am your daily driver, Mark Herman, and today we're working on airbags. All right, roll the intro and let's get started. All right, we got our work cut out for us today. What we're gonna start doing is we're gonna go ahead and try to pull the seat belts because they lock up after an accident. So we gotta pull both of those. We gotta get the airbag module, which is gonna be behind here. So we're gonna pull the radio and then this. Maybe pull this to get to that, and then we have to have those sent off to be rebuilt. Usually it's around like 50 bucks each, the module to be reprogrammed, both seat belts. So 150, maybe 200 bucks or so ish to have that done. And then after that, I'm gonna start pulling the dash. I already have the dash and the so I have the dash airbag. I also have the steering wheel airbag, and I'm gonna start working on pulling both of those. Pretty much the whole front of this interior is gonna have to get gutted to make that happen. It's a lot of work, but this is an eyesore. Realistically, if you get in an accident, you don't wanna do it without airbags. I mean, this is, you know, somewhat a sports car, so anything could happen. So, you know, when it comes to safety, it's pretty important, but small price to pay for safety. Also, you know, if you go to resell it, if you have airbag lights on, blown airbags, people want to stay away from that stuff, so you want to do it right. Further ado, let's do it. All right, so we got the seat belts pulled. Basically, you have to pull the trim here, pull the seats so you can pull the trim back, and then unbolt them, and then unbolt the SRS, well, unplug the SRS system, and then you pull the seat belts. Here's the seat belts. I'm gonna send these off to go get and get rebuilt. If you buy these brand new, they're way more expensive than just paying to have them rebuilt. So I guess they do something in the inner mechanism, and that's what the SRS restraint, why it's plugged in there. So we'll go ahead and get into that, and then next we're gonna go and pull the center console. That way we can get access to all this, and back here is the module that we need. Normally you could do it without pulling the center console, but since I have to pull the whole dash anyways, we're gonna have to pull this regardless so we can get these out. So let's go ahead and do that next. All right, guys, so I'm in the car. I've probably been at this for about probably an hour and a half. Yeah, more like an hour and a half. All right, mind you, I have limited tools and I'm working in the dirt still, no garage or anything, so it takes me longer, you know, not having a toolbox right there. But I've never done this before, and I pulled both seat belts, the whole center console, the radio, the climate control, pretty much all that, and then got to the airbag control module. Now you don't have to do all this, but since I'm pulling the dash again, that's why I did it. So realistically, you should be able to pull the control module and the seat belts probably in an hour or less. So it's not that bad. Now, when you look at it, it's like, oh man, this can be overwhelming when you look at, you know, what's going on as far as there's so many plugs and remembering what goes where. So a rule of thumb is just put the panels that you know where they exist. Roughly, you can look at it as, instead of looking at it as a whole, look at it as pieces individually. So realistically, you know where the radio goes, you know where the climate control goes. So if you could get those pieces where they need to be, typically the connectors will not allow you to put one connector in a different spot. More often than not, they always engineer it that way to prevent mistakes. So if you have a connector in the proximity, it will help you kind of guide where things need to go, instead of just looking at, you know, 40 unplugged connectors and getting all, you know, worried or confused. That's how you do it, and that's how they engineer it. So it makes it easy to prevent mistakes, easier to work on, things like that. So that's a good rule of thumb. Yeah, so just take your time and look at each component individually instead of just looking at it as a big old mess. So I'm gonna go and send off the 2 seat belts and the CPU module, and we're gonna have that rebuilt. When you are assembling something, make sure that you aren't forcing things. So if you have to force something, or if it doesn't seem like a bolt's wanting to tighten easily, that's where you wanna just back it out, rethink, and then go at it again slowly. Because the instant you're forcing things or tightening things that don't seem like they are fitting right, is when you start causing damage. Realistically, it should go on as easy as it came off. Now, you know, when it comes to clips and stuff like that, that's a little different. I'm talking bolts, nuts, pieces fitting where they should. So if it seems like it's not fitting or being forced, it probably shouldn't be there, or is being installed incorrectly. Just take your time. Usually when you put on a nut or a bolt, you back it out until it drops in and then tighten it down. That's what I do. It always prevents me from stripping it out. If you rush and start stripping things, it's just gonna make the job take longer, and it's just gonna be more of a nightmare. So just take your time in the first place, and you'll get done quicker and be much more satisfied with the result when you get through the job without those kind of headaches. All right, another pointer that I almost forgot to tell you guys. When you have a lot of bolts and nuts, and they're all different sizes, widths, whatever, you could put them in a bag and label them. So for example, if I was doing the steering wheel, you would pull all the steering wheel bolts, put it with the steering wheel in a bag, and then, you know, label it steering wheel. But if you aren't as advanced to remember which bolts or nuts go where, what I do to also prevent any sort of serious problems is I put it back after I remove the part. So I remove the stereo, I put the bolts back where they go. That way, you know, you got the right bolts and nuts where they need to be. Also, if you're gonna be coming back to a job way later, let's say a week or, you know, a month, who knows how long, but let's say you come back to it way later, you may not remember. So this is a surefire way that you know you have the exact right bolt and nut exactly where it needs to go. Yeah, it's a good way to keep your hardware safe and reinstall everything properly the way it was disassembled.
Woo, she's starting to look like a car. I am so happy, guys. All right, so here's the breakdown. I got the parts out of the car, I got them sent off. However, it takes 1 to 2 weeks for them to get back to me. Now, Safety Restore, the company that's doing it, does it within a day. I'm not sponsored by the guys, just to let you know. I'm just using them because they're highly rated and very affordable. So basically they do it in 1 day, but since I'm shipping it ground to the East Coast and ground back, that's like 1 to 2 weeks, and nobody has time for that. So this is actually Mark from the future. You could call me Marky McFly, and I'll have another video out in a couple days. Sorry about last week. Between being sick and the holidays, I just wasn't able to get it done, but I look forward to getting them out for you guys and keep the content coming. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to do so. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't turn on the alert bell, people can't see the videos when they pop up. So if you want to turn that on, do all that good stuff, feel free to do so. And like always, I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one.